Back in 1991, the Phase 1 NPDES permit was just emerging, and I was privileged, I guess, to travel with EPA around the US putting on seminars, although I worked as a consultant. And I got to spend a lot of time with Hap Throne, Tom Seaton, the guys who did Phase 1. And there were three little words back then that they came up with sort of off the cuff that probably had the biggest impact in influencing land design of any sort of regulatory program probably that ever was, or perhaps ever will be, and it's really coming into vogue now. And those three words are MEP, maximum extent practicable. Back then, none of those words were capitalized. They were just sort of a made-up term. But MEP now is taking on green infrastructure overtones, sustainability overtones, LID overtones, and on and on and on. And as you look around the US, you see that MEP has become sort of the definitional driver for a lot of what we do. Back in 1991, there was an ebb and flow of two concepts, or maybe a running gun battle about two concepts. And those two concepts you're going to see played out again and again and again in this discussion today. The first concept, or the first question, was who controls land use? Back in 1991, there was a raging battle against EPA exerting land use control and arrogating to itself land use control from local government. And so there was a fight, and in the end, everyone made nice and said, local government will always and forever make land use control decisions. The other issue was, can we come up with a numeric standard for stormwater runoff, which we'll now call effluent? And again, there was a running gun battle. People said it's episodic, you don't know how to monitor it, we don't even know what the real impacts are. So we agree for 13 years there'll be no numeric standards. So back in 1991, so we're beyond that now. You're going to see again and again in this morning's discussion the impacts of those two concepts. Who controls land use, or who should control land use, directly or indirectly, and how and in what way should we come up with numeric standards for stormwater. And those two concepts are going to be driving a lot of what happens in the future. Having said that, and I don't see a waving hand. Okay, I'm still good. Having said that, I think that there are a couple of shifts that I see coming. Right now, our culture is a lot-by-lot design culture. Our regulations are lot by lot. And so, for example, we might say, okay, we're going to have an impervious cover limit, 20% per lot. But is that really what we want to do? There'll be 30 million new people coming to the US in the next 10 years. Do we want lot-by-lot standards? So I think the answer eventually is no. If I'm going to put 10,000 new homes in my community, do I want each of them to have 10% imperviousness and sprawl on out to the horizon or not? Okay? And so I think that that's one question that's going to be answered. And I think we're going to see a shift to watershed, neighborhood, regional sorts of solutions rather than lot-by-lot solutions. Redevelopment is going to drive that. The other thing that we're going to see is the death of generic BMPs and the rise of boutique BMPs that are targeted to specific pollutants, because we're going to see the rise of numeric standards for stormwater. I think a third area that we're going to see is a shift from this concept that we're not just getting into, mimic pre-development hydrology, to a much more robust concept. Mimicking pre-development hydrology fails the smell test in a lot of different ways. And finally, I think that climate change and its impacts, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, we don't care about green infrastructure right now. We care about 8,000 homes that people can't move back into. And if, in fact, the increase in temperature and humidity is going to drive microbursts of storms, we're going to see a lot more localized flooding. There's been 7 or 8 significant floods in the US this year. And I was just in Boston, and they were under 7 feet of water in some neighborhoods. And he said, look, I don't know what's going on, but if this is climate change, we got to do something differently.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.